I imagine that when you start a charity or a social initiative, social initiative work like you're doing, I mean, the challenge is to get money. You have to fundraise. And is that something that's sort of a constant battle that you're fighting, a constant challenge? Is that sort of the day-to-day hardship in the work that you do?
Fundraising, yes. Fundraising is the crucial element, and it allows us to do our work. And I think one way to really address that challenge is to create those sustainable concepts, to create social businesses so that you don't have to depend on collecting donations every day. But it goes, I don't have particular challenges to succeed with our fundraising goals. People are very generous. We get support from individual donors as well as corporations, every now and a foundation. And yeah, so it certainly makes up a big part of our work.
What do you think of sort of the recent movements within the fashion world, the recent debates that sort of turn that social conscience on the fashion world?
I find it very positive that a lot of fashion labels take on that element to have a social objective and to care about the community. So I see a lot of change in the fashion sector, and I think that's great.
Why do you think that you were able to sort of keep your head on your shoulders, whereas many young famous people head in the wrong direction?
I think my parents raised us with a lot of awareness. When I was young, my family, actually, my brother and my father, they used to do boxing. So he used to be the national coach of the German boxing team. And so we traveled regular to Thailand. In Thailand, boxing is very popular. You have Muay Thai, which is the Thai boxing, and you have normal boxing. So as a young girl, I traveled a lot to the boxing camps and just spent hours and days and weeks there. And so in those countries, people use sports as an opportunity to get out of poverty. And I think the opportunity to see how they live and to learn about their life just allows you a lot of awareness about the blessings you have growing up in Germany, or growing up the way I could grow up. So
you've been living in the United Arab Emirates since about 2005, I believe, and obviously a part of the world that's changing all the time, and particularly the UAE is very modern in many ways, and yet it's also the region of the world where you could say that perhaps women are the least empowered. And is that something that's troubling to you, or perhaps you have a different perspective on it from living there?
Absolutely, I definitely have a different perspective, and I think there's a lot of misperception. Women in the Middle East actually do have a lot of power, and I think many times they're the driving force. If you look at if a woman, if they say a woman takes care of the family and the household, actually she takes care. That's a powerful role. They have huge families, and it's much more celebrated to be a woman. And whereas I think if you're in the West and you have to manage your career and you have to manage motherhood, I think there's a lot of misperception about the role of women in the Middle East.
The Middle East is really the hottest spot on the globe politically. That's nothing new. There's conflicts being played out that resonate all around the world. So living there, has that sort of changed your perspective on global politics? Because when you're in the heart of the region, obviously in some ways you get an insider's viewpoint.
I find the leadership of the UAE is really exceptional. I think they're really inspirational, but you're certainly in a boiling pot in the Middle East, and especially with the recent happenings, we, as expats living in the UAE, I think we watch very carefully what is happening in the neighboring countries. It's literally just a few hours away.
What gives you hope when you go out and see these communities and these individuals?
If I travel to a rural community in India, sure, they live very basic, but still they're very content, and they somehow live in perfect harmony with nature, and they get up with sunrise and they go to sleep with sunset, because they might not have electricity, but they are very content in many cases, and I think that's something which is inspiring. I think we get many times we think in developed countries our life is cluttered with things that we don't need, and it's really about the simplicity many times, and And I try not to get attached emotionally to our work. I think it's for us, it's just focusing on helping and moving on, and you know, not getting trapped in emotional attachment.
So would you say that in many ways, when you go into the developing world, that they have as much to teach us as someone like you has to teach them?
Sure. I don't see the typical role of giver and receiver. I think it's a blessing that we're able to learn from them and to engage with them and to really create a relationship. And I think it's equally we equally learn from each other. And yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And final question: what's next for you? You're very young to have been so many places, done so much, built up this organization that's world renowned, that's continuing to do great work every day. So is it to continue on that same path? Is it to expand? What are your next goals?
Well, you're very kind, and thank you for describing it in such a way. But we really, at the beginning of our journey, I think we're still at our humble beginnings, and the objective is certainly to just scale up. So instead of building classrooms, we'd like to build schools and to duplicate our efforts from in Madagascar and in other areas, and to just keep growing and keep empowering more and more communities and to learn from those experiences and to become better and better in what we do.
All right, Monja Wolf, thank you so much for joining us for WorldDenver Talks, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.